Hi folks, the video you've just seen is me shooting out at 90 yards, hitting a 4-inch disc with a sub 12 foot-pound 177 air rifle. And now in this video I'm going to show you how I achieve that without using any holdover. It's simply dial in. I dial in nearly all my distances, right from 30 yards, which is my zero distance, right out to 90 yards. And now I'm going to show you how I actually do it. Right, as you can see on my bench, I've got my Kral MPO2. Okay, you can do it with any PCP air rifle if it's kicking out 10.5 to 11.5 foot-pounds. So we've got the Kral MPO2. I'm going to mount the scope now as if I'm going to be shooting it out to these distances, which is like beyond 30 yards, using the dial-in method. Okay, so the first things we need a few bits. Okay, firstly, we've got the rifle, we need the scope. Okay, now you can use any scope providing it's got parallax. Now it can either have side parallax or it can have objective lens parallax, but you do need that parallax for when you dial in different distances in. Okay, next thing you need are adjustable mounts. Now these aren't the standard mounts that you'd get normally when you buy your scope. These are actually adjustable mounts, and you can move them up and actually tilt them as well. Okay, these are Eagle Vision Infinity mounts. I've got Eagle Vision Infinity mounts on nearly all my guns. Okay, I don't get sponsored by Eagle Vision. It's just that I find these are a very strong mount, and they do exactly what I want. I did try some cheap mounts that I got off the internet, but yeah, and they moved up and down, but they wouldn't tilt, so they was actually no good. So yeah, Eagle Vision Infinity mounts. I'm sure other companies make them. It's just that I tend to like these, and once you like a product from a certain company, you tend to stick with it. Okay, the next thing you'll need is a nice big piece of card. Okay, and that's for putting out at the distance you want to be zeroing at. So what we're going to do is now we're going to mount this scope as if I was mounting just normally, you know, for somebody that's not got infinity mounts or anything. Just Bob standard, mount the scope. Okay, but you don't need to see me do that, so I'm going to pause it there, and I'll be back to you in a minute when I've done the zeroing. Okay folks, I've mounted the scope, I've got it all lined up. I've got a bubble level actually attached to the scope, so I can line it up with the bubble level to make sure my gun's level. I've also got a plumb line set out on the range. We have one permanently set out for people that want to set their scopes up. So I've torqued everything up to its correct torque settings. The only thing that this scope will do now is move up and down, and that's what we're going to need basically. So now I'm going to go out and I'm going to put this target, this one, out at 30 yards, which is my zero distance. Right folks, I've been out and I've set the target. It's at 30 yards. So now what we're going to do is we're going to set the scope. We've already mounted the scope on the gun, but its turrets aren't set for long range shooting. So now we're going to do that. So the first thing to do is your top turret, wind it all the way down, and then one complete rotation up. Okay, so you wind it all the way down till it stops, and then you give it one complete rotation all the way up. That's your top turret set. Your windage turret on the side, wind it halfway between left and right, so it's in the middle of its travel. Okay, now we're set for the shoot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fire a pellet at the black dot that I've shown you on the target. Okay, Before I do that, I'm expecting, because of the conditions, the wind's going left to right, and it's blowing basically, well, it's like blowing at 5 o'clock. So it's going left to right, but also blowing more or less across the range, down the range towards me. So I'm expecting this pellet to go over, it'll be low, the pellet impact will be low, and it'll be slightly over to the right of the target. So let's see if that's right. Yeah, it's gone over to the right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and put another little black dot at my impact. Yeah, like I said, it has gone low and it's gone over to the right. So I'm going to go back out there now and put another black dot at my impact. It's only to make it so that I can see it better through the scope when I'm adjusting the scope up and down. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm been and put a black dot on my second impact. So now we're going to move the scope up at the back end like I am doing now until your reticle crosshairs meet a line that goes straight down and across to the point of impact. If I just get a pen, I can show you that on this piece of card. So imagine that is my impact, just there. I'm going to draw a line. Can we all see this? I'm now going to draw an imaginary line through the scope down to the pellet impact, and then I'm going to stop it from doing that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm moving the back of the scope up till the reticle crosshairs comes down and in line with the pellet impact. Okay, now there's numerous ways to do this. You can actually get the Allen key that fits the two studs on the back of the scope that allows you to adjust it, and you can just lift it up with your finger, and then when it's in line then just nip the Allen key up. Okay, some people will use a Allen key and they'll just slip an Allen key in the back as they're lifting it up, and that does hold it a little bit firmer, then you're not fiddling about. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to lift the back end of the scope up, the reticle will go down then till it's in line with the pellet impact, and then we're going to nip it up. So if I hope this Allen key is not too big, so that just pop it in place. So now I'm looking, yeah it is, it's a little bit too big, this Allen key, so we'll get a smaller one, or I'll do it with my finger, one of the two. Okay, make sure it's on the lot, make sure it is on your dot where you first started, and no, I haven't got an Allen key small enough. I'm going to do it by hand because I haven't got an Allen key small enough. So I'm going to move it up until it's in line with my second impact. and I'm just going to nip it up. Just do it so as it's in line with your second impact, and then just nip it up. Just check. It's a little bit lower, but we'll see how it is. It's a little bit lower, but we'll see how it is on our next pellet. Because what we're going to do now, we're going to fire another pellet at your original black dot. Okay, so let's have one at the original black dot. I'll just go and check that. Well, that looks pretty good from here. So I will go out and retrieve the target, okay, and we'll have a closer look at it when I get back. Okay, I've retrieved the target and I'm quite happy with that. I've put another black dot on the second impact mark. So what we did, we zeroed on that, we put his crosshairs on that. We then fired a pellet and it landed there. So we drew an imaginary line by lifting the back of the scope up. We followed the reticle down until it came in line with that dot. And then we tightened one of the Allen key screws up. No, we didn't tighten it fully, we just tightened it up a bit, enough to stop the scope moving. We then fired another pellet and that's where it landed. So we're not a million miles away from the original 0 point, and we can alter that. We can bring that in line using our top turret because we've got loads of elevation on there, left and right. I mean up and down, sorry. And we can bring us windage across because we've got loads of windage as well, left and right. So what we do now is we're happy with that. So now we just tighten our scope, because our scope will still move at the front. It won't move at the back, but it'll move at the front. So I'll just nip those up, okay, and then I'll come back to you. Right, I've locked those off. Now the only other thing to do now, and this is what I normally do, is I will set my 0 at 30 yards by locking the turret 30 yards. I don't know if your scope, when you do it, your scope can actually lock off at a certain distance, I don't know. But you use your 0 stop. So that means it won't screw down any further than your zeroed range. And then what I shall do, I'll go out to 40 yards. Okay, when I'm happy with it shooting at 40 yards, that is on the top turret, right, by dialing 40 yards in. Then I'll also put a turret marker on it at 40 yards. I do the same at 50 yards, I do the same at 60 yards, and I do the same right out to 90 yards. So if I'm shooting from 30 through to 70 yards, I'll just dial my top turret to 70 yards. Right. On the windage, I do that as well. So I'll set my windage for 30 yards. And then as I go out for the further distances, your windage will change. So all I do is mark that off at the same distances as I've got my top turret marked off. Okay, but that's only ideal on a really calm day, if you're shooting indoors or something like that. If you're shooting outdoors, you've always got some sort of wind, left to right, right to left, up, down, any way you want, there's wind. So that setting that you've put on your windage, I wouldn't change it to compensate for the wind. All I will be doing is using my left and right holdover for the wind on that particular day. Otherwise you'd just be going up and down your turret all the time. Okay, but basically that's how I get to shoot out to 90 yards. I could even stretch it out to 100 yards because I've got loads of elevation now on my turret to dial it in. Okay, and most guns anyway, once you set it at 30 yards, you can shoot at 25 yards, you can shoot at 23 yards, you know, right down to 20 yards really, without any difficulty. But it's those long range distances. If you want to push your shooting, that's the way that's the way I set my scope up. And if you do it the same way, you won't go far wrong. It's having a big enough piece of card to start with, because if you don't put a big enough piece of card on, you could be shooting under the card, and you think, oh, I'm not hitting the card. Where's it going? You know, so get a nice big piece of card. Don't be frightened of the size of the card you're going to use. As long as you've got it out there, and as long as you're using the dots and you're following it, okay? And that's all there is to it, folks. Okay, I hope that's helped you people that want to push your distances out a little further. And if you've got any queries on that, either message me through Facebook or even telephone me if you want, and we'll talk through. Okay, thank you. Hi folks, a couple of days ago you seen me setting my scope up to shoot out to larger distances other than 50 yards at 60, 70 and 80. Well, I told you how to do it anyway. Over the last few days I've actually zeroed it in at different distances right out to 90 yards. And what you've just seen is me shooting the 4-inch disc at 90 yards using my little Krell MPO2, which some people would say wouldn't reach that far, but it does. I'm not saying it's pellet on pellet, nothing, no sub 12 pound air rifle at 90 yards, 100 yards is going to be pellet on pellet. But it's an achievement to hit a 4-inch disc, especially in an outdoor range where there's a little bit of breeze going left to right, right to left. It was ideal today for actually showing you how this little gun performs. You know, for a cheap £350 gun, really you can't fault it. You know, I don't review guns. This was bought as one that people can use out on our range if they haven't got a gun. But I was interested to see how it would perform with the adjustable mounts on and going out to those ranges. And to tell you the truth, I can't fault it, you know what I mean? Like I've said, it's not pellet on pellet, but then again, at that distance, 90 yards, and my Red Wolf's not pellet on pellet, you know. As long as I'm hitting that 4-inch disc, and in the video you've just seen, yeah, there was 1 or 2 misses, but that's just because the wind changes out here slightly from shot to shot. So 1 minute you've got the right holdover, next minute you're hitting it, next minute it's gone, you know what I mean? So then you've got to readjust your holdover slightly, you know, and that could be the pellets because I use them straight out the tin. It could be the gun itself, you know, but like I said, I don't think even my Red Wolf could be constantly hitting that 4-inch disc, not outdoors anyway. Might do indoors, but not outdoors. But I hope that's just shown you, because I know there'd have been people out there going, no, he's never hitting that with a sub 12 foot pound, not a £350 gun. but as you've just seen, I have. Okay folks, bye.